Hello, today I am going to study this chapter. So let's study this with me. I am going to highlight the most important points. Let's start from there. Each and every organism can live only for a certain period of time. The period from birth to natural death of an organism represents its lifespan. Lifespan of a few organisms are given in figure 1.1. Several other organisms are drawn for which you should find out their lifespan and write in the spaces provided. Examine the lifespan of organism represented in the figure 1.1. Isn't it both interesting and intriguing to know that it may be short as a few days or as long as a few thousand years? Between these two extremes are the lifespans of most of other living organisms. You may note that lifespan of organisms are not necessarily correlated with their size. This may be the more important line. The sizes of crow and parrots are not very different, yet their lifespans show a wide difference. Similarly, a mango tree has a much shorter lifespan as compared to peepal tree. Whatever whatever be the lifespan, death of every individual is a certainty. No individual is immortal except organ. This line is going to be most important. Except single cell organism. Why do we say that there is no natural death in single cell organism? Given this reality, how you ever wondered how vast number of plant and animal species have existed on earth for several thousands of years? There must be some processes in living organisms that ensure their continuity. Yes, we are talking about reproduction, something that we take in granted. These are given, you should have to fill now. Reproduction is defined as the biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones, similar to itself. The offspring grow, mature, and in turn reproduce new offspring. Thus, there is a cycle of birth, growth, and death. Reproduction enables the continuity of the species generation after generation. You will study later in the chapter 5 principle of inheritance and variation, how genetic variation is created and inherited during reproduction. There is a large variety in the biological world, and each organism has evolved its own mechanism to multiply and produce offspring. The organism habitat, its internal physiology, and several other factors are collectively responsible for its reproduction. What are the factors? Its internal physiology and several other factors. The organism habitats also based on whether there is participation of one organism or two in the process of reproduction. It is of two types. When offspring is produced by a single parent with or without the involvement of gamete formation, the reproduction is termed as asexual reproduction. When two parents of opposite sex participate in the reproduction process and involves the fusion of male and female gamete is known as sexual reproduction. Now, asexual reproduction. In this method, a single individual, a parent, is capable of producing offspring. As a result, the offspring that are produced are not only identical to one another but are also exact copies of their parent. Are these offspring likely to be genetically identical or different? Of course, they will be identical. The term clone is used to describe such morphologically and genetically similar individuals. This is also an important point. Let us see how widespread asexual reproduction is. Among different groups of organisms, asexual reproduction is common among single cell organisms. Asexual reproduction is common among single-cell organisms and in plant with a relatively simple organization. In Protista and Monera, the organism or the parent cell divided by mitosis into two to give rise to new individuals. Thus, in these organisms, cell division is itself a mode of reproduction. This is zoospore of Cladomonas. This is conidia of Penicillium, birds of Hydra, and gemmules in sponges. Many single-cell organisms reproduce by binary fission, where a cell divided into two halves and each rapidly grow into an adult. Example में binary fission example is amoeba and paramecium. In East, the division is unequal. And small birds that are remain attached initially to the parent cell, which eventually get separated and mature into new yeast organism a cell. Under favorable conditions, the amoeba withdraws its pseudopodia and secretes a three-layered hard covering or cyst around its cell. This phenomenon is known as incystation. When favorable conditions return, the encysted amoeba divides by multiple fission and produces many more minute amoeba and pseudospores. The cyst ball bursts out and the spores are liberated in the surrounding medium to grow into the amoeba. This phenomenon is known as sporulation. Spores are liberated in the surrounding to grow. Germinating buds, nodes, buds, adventitious root. Members of the kingdom fungi and simple plants such as algae reproduce through asexual reproduction. Kingdom fungi, simple plants such as algae reproduce through a special. The most common of these structures are zoospores that usually are microscopic motile structures. Zoospores are microscopic motile structures. Other common asexual reproduction structures are conidia, penicillium, birds, hydra, and gemmules, sponges. Conidia in penicillium, birds in hydra, and gemmules in sponge. You have learned about vegetative reproduction in plant in class 11. What do you think? Is vegetative reproduction also a type of asexual reproduction? Yes, it is. It is asexual reproduction. Why do you so? Because in asexual reproduction there is an exact copies of parent, and in vegetative it is also the same. Is the term clone applicable to the offspring formed by vegetative? Yeah. You can say it. You can say it clone. Why in plants and other simple organisms the term asexual is used ambiguously? In plants, the term vegetative reproduction is frequently used because in plants the unit of vegetative propagation such as runners, rhizomes, suckers, tubers, ovaries, and bulb are capable of giving rise to new offspring. These are vegetative propagates. These are vegetative propagates. Obviously, since the formation of these structure does not involve two parents, the process involved is asexual. In some organisms, if the body breaks into distinct species, each fragment grows into an adult capable of producing offspring. Example, Hydra. This is also a mode of asexual reproduction called fragmentation. Each fragment grows into an adult capable of reproduction. You must have heard about the stories of the barter bodies or about the terror of Bengal. There is nothing but the aquatic plant barter vasant, which is one of the most invasive big growing wherever there is standing water. It drains oxygen from the water, which leads to the death of fishes. You will learn more about it in chapter 13 and 14. You may find it interesting to know that this plant was introduced in India because of its beautiful flower and shape of leaves, since it can propagate vegetatively at a phenomenal rate and spread all over the borders in a short period of time. It's very difficult to get rid of them. Are you aware how plants like potatoes, sugarcane, banana, ginger, and dahlia are cultivated? Have you seen a small plant emerging from the buds called eyes of potato tubers from the rhizomes of banana? These are the importance from the rhizomes of banana and the gingers. When you carefully try to determine the site of origin of the new plantlet in the plants listed above, you will notice that they invariably arise from the nodes present in the modified stems of these plants. When the nodes come in contact with damp soil, nodes come in contact with damp soil, they produce root and new plants. Similarly, adventitious adventitious birds arise from the notches present at the margin of bryophyllum. This ability is fully exploited by gardeners and farmers for commercial propagation of such plants. It is interesting to note that asexual reproduction is a common method of reproduction in organisms that have a relatively simple organization, like algae and fungi, and that they shift to asexual mode of reproduction just before the onset of adverse condition. Find out how sexual reproduction enables these organisms to survive during unfavorable conditions.